Oh, crikey. Well, that's a fun start. It's the usual sort of rail narrative start you'd expect. Episode 250. It's our 250th bloody episode. Well, 251st if you count zero, which of course everyone should. Hello. Oh my goodness and my golly and my gosh. This is exciting. Yes, we are going to be talking about the little station that defeated Westminster. And maybe everyone's going, what happened? There was a load of critical beeps and noises and stuff disconnecting and reconnecting, which I had no idea why I was doing that, but that's fine. We don't have to worry about that. And of course, I've got to this episode unable to say, sorry about the lateness of all the podcasts uploading in the background. But anyway, we'll get there. Yes, one of the fun, interesting things I wanted to say is we have been listed by one of the various generic podcast listing functions. Wait a minute, let's go big face here for a minute. Hello, everyone. We've been listed by... Is it me or is my camera a bit lower than usual? No. Well, anyway. Or have I grown? I'm not sure. Let's just have a... Maybe it has gone... That's a bit better, isn't it? Anyway... We've been voted by, tell you what, let's do, FeedSpot, as one of the top UK podcasts on Tinternet. Actually, we came in at number 38, which is very strange, so I'd ignore that, because that doesn't seem to make any sense, given a lot of very good podcasts are trash features behind us, which doesn't make any sense. But I'm not even sure it's on the list. But we have been featured as the number one... I'm going to put it here, in fact. Let's pop it here, go out. The indicative of how fantastic these websites are, that it's still got the old name of the podcast, not it's Rail uppercase Natter rather than just Rail Natter. But FeedSpot says that we are the world's top railway podcast, which is fun, isn't it? So I've no idea why they think that. That's what they believe. 2024 world's best. I'm not going to show you because it's a rubbish website and I don't give them any advertising. But yeah, so the top railway podcast in the world is Rail Natter. So that's marvellous, isn't it? All good fun, exciting. Shave for the new job, people are asking. I just tidied it myself. Yeah, take that, green signals. Whatever the one that Walmart stole the name off an actual good YouTuber and took, which is, I think, Calling All Stations. Oh, you know what? I've done the thing that I wanted to do. I've completely forgot. I'm going to bring up and remind myself a thing that I was going to do this episode, and I'm sort of Discord go. While I do that, I just want to say there will be... Nope, you can't see my face. Let's get rid of my face. Let's get rid of that. There will be some book news later in this episode. In fact, in the usual kind of outro stuff, there'll be some exciting book news announcements. So stay tuned for that. Momentarily. I just want to... where's that thing gone? Okay, right. So fine. I'm going in here. I'm going in here... and finding my own name when, oh golly, the chat progresses so quickly. Yeah, here we go. Okay, good. So fine, that's fine. That's something I can look at momentarily. Gosh, so many things to remember to do. Everyone, I'm going to stop waffling. We are tonight talking about the story of a little station that could. And without further ado, let's first of all, let's hide my mouse because it's not one of those episodes. Everyone, welcome to tonight's Rail Natter. And as the InCity 225 fades away, of course we like an underdog story. We like a fun underdog story. And why am I telling this on episode 250? Because, well, hopefully the reason I'm telling this story for episode 250 will become clear through time. But first, we must do a little bit of news. So many bad things are currently happening in the US as the fascist government kind of gets its talons into deeper and deeper into what it thinks is the blob, and transport has it's finally reached transport, or it has reached transport, and it's kind of sent out this order and we're going to flick through it because it's awful. It's really horrible, and you'll see where I'm going with it momentarily. So this is the document. This is the PDF. Purpose: this order updates and resets the principles and standards underpinning US DOT policies, programs, and activities to mandate reliance on rigorous economic analysis and positive cost-benefit calculations to ensure that all DOT grants, loans, contracts, and DOT supported or assisted state contracts bolster the American economy and benefit the American people. Right. So let's go through this. So the first thing they want to do is say, you'll recognize some of this language here. The calculation of the social cost of carbon is marked by logical deficiencies, a poor basis in empirical science, politicization, and the absence of a foundation in legislation. So that's basically that's saying anything to do with climate change and carbon emissions. Consequently, the administrator of the EPA has been ordered by the president to issue guidance to address these harmful and detrimental inadequacies. So that's the climate skeptic. This is what language looks like when fascists get involved and start smashing up science. Marvellous. Prior to issue of that guidance, DOT shall ensure estimates to assess the value of changes in greenhouse gas emissions resulting from agency actions, including with respect to the consideration of domestic versus international effects and blah, 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 yakety yak, are to the extent permitted by law. So that kind of says no change particularly, pending this new EPA guidance. Statutes governing DOT policies shall be administered to identify and avoid, to the extent practical, relevant, appropriate, and consistent with the law, blah, 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 adverse impacts on families and communities. Okay, fine. Yes, good. Well, not good, because it's being written deliberately to... it's focusing on, as you'll see, where people can raise children. Anyway, statutes governing DOT policies, programs, and activities shall also be administered to maximise, to the extent practical, relevant, appropriate, and consistent with law, benefits for families and communities. Well, why family? What's this emphasis on families? Okay. The benefits may include economic opportunities, actions that will help alleviate poverty, enhance safety, and primarily benefit families and communities. What? Family? What's this weird language? Oh, you can't see my mouse where I'm pointing at. Of course, I switched it off, didn't I? I'll put it back on again for now, shall I? I'll put it back on, and then I'll put it off in a second. We're talking about this bit here. D here. DOT supported or assisted programs and activities, including without limitation all grants, loans, contracts, etc., shall not be used to further local political objectives or for projects and goals that are purely local in nature and unrelated to a proper federal interest. Well, that's weirdly open to interpretation. Programs and activities should instead prioritise support and assistance for projects and goals that are consistent with the proper role of the federal government in our system of federalism, have strong co-funding requirements, adhere faithfully to all federal statutory Buy America requirements, and not depend on continuous or future DOT support or assistance. Okay. F, to the maximum extent permitted by law, DOT supported or assisted programs and activities, blah, 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 shall prioritise projects and goals that, ominous turn of the page, utilise user pay models, yikes, direct funding to local opportunity zones where permitted, to the extent permitted, to the extent practical, blah, 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 mitigate the unique impacts of DOT programs, policies, and activities on families and family-specific difficulties, such as the accessibility of transportation to families with young children, and give preference to communities with marriage and birth rates higher than the national average. Everyone, this is fascist. This is actual fascist shit. Just in case anyone wasn't... This is fascist stuff. This is marriage and birth rates higher than the national average. This is like, we want to pop out more Americans in readiness for the big war that's coming type language. So, yeah, really, just in case anyone was under any impressions as to what this looks like. Yeah, so, good stuff. Yeah, the word, as Michael C. says, the word family, appearing more than in a Fast and Furious film. Yeah, Gilead, here we come. Absolutely, Gareth, yeah. Anyway, I gotta leave that to it, but yeah, grim. Absolutely grim. Grim. So, terrific. Meanwhile, things are also not great in Cargo Cult Island. So here we go. Heathrow's third runway can be built in 10 years, Reeve says. Can it? That sounds fun. She wants to see spades in the ground in the current parliament and planes to start using the runway by 2035. Imagine if she'd channeled this energy towards something else, maybe. I don't know. Some other thing that is good for transport. She also said that Sadiq cannot stop the new runway. Oh, okay. Okay. Sure. I'm sure she's based this on, some actual independent analysis, right? Meanwhile, of course, she's changing her mind over other airport expansion as well. We've just had Doncaster announcing that it's going to be reopening, which is a disaster. Chancellor said she would now support the expansion of Leeds Bradford Airport. This is, as I say, cargo cult stuff. It's quite something. As I say, surely based on actual data that's independent, though. Oh no, Reeves's Heathrow third runway report was commissioned by the London airport. So the data she's used to say we should open a third runway at Heathrow directly comes from Heathrow. Okay, interesting. Experts and green groups also challenged Reeves' view that advances in the production of sustainable aviation fuel had been a game changer that would substantially limit the environmental damage of flying, saying that the claims were overblown and did not stand up to scrutiny. Yeah, they're absolute bollocks. Just staggering. So yeah, it's very interesting to this is cargo cult stuff. This is just cargo cult stuff. Yeah. Also, it's funny. The best that Heathrow could do is say that Heathrow's third runway would only improve economic growth potential by 0.43% by 2050. So even the made-up report, the made-up report could only come up with that small number. So absolutely tremendous. Just hopeless. And of course, just a reminder, Dr. Alex Chapman and I talked about this, the problems with the UK aviation industry. The name of this episode is perhaps no longer relevant because they seem to be, the episodes, these folks seem to be ascendant. But yes, episode 185, we need to get Alex Chapman back on, don't we, to talk about Heathrow's third runway specifically, I think. Yes. Anyway, there's a little bit more news. Oh yeah, meanwhile in Spain, John Stone, friend of the show, hello John. Public transport use in Spain has surged by 33% since 2022 after the government broadened subsidies for cheap and free travel. From July, it will introduce an unlimited €20 local commuter pass. €10 for young people. Spectacular. Yeah, so, other things can happen. However, there is some good news. Look, Cardiff Parkway Station has finally been approved by the Welsh Government. So in St Mellons... Actually, it is St Mellons, not St Mellons, because this is a double L. People can shout at me whether it's Gareth. I think it is St Mellons, even though it's in the middle there, but never mind. Anyway, that seems like a good idea. Now, who was saying this back in well before this was official? Oh, look, I said they should do this. Oh, that's nice. Turns out I know what I'm talking about. That's fun. Anyway, what else is going on here? Oh, yeah, that's right. There's also this other thing that's going on. There's more as well, but to the extent to which this will ever get funded is something else, of course. But this rail deal is the Western Gateway Partnership's vision for the future of the West of England's railways. Released in... Yeah, the vision was released in 2023, but the actual sort of overall sort of plan has now been... published, and we might have a look through that, but the trouble is this isn't funded. This is just a thing. This is them saying, please, this would be nice. Officially, the name of St Mellons is Llaneirwg. Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yes, both Max Johansson and Gareth coming up with that. Thanks, folks. So anyway, so that's all good fun. Right, let's talk about this guy, because this is an episode that has some guys in it. This is Sir Alexander Mattison, 1st Baronet. What's his deal? Well, we'll talk about his deal in a minute. This is, so this guy was, he was the son of John Matheson Esquire of Ardross and Atterdale in Rossshire, which is the family's ancestral seat. But he disappeared off to do trading in the Far East, which at this time meant opium. So this guy was a drug runner, but funded by the state, and as part of the state apparatus for us doing drug running as building our empire. So tremendous. Yes. Did a lot of opium trading, particularly in the Canton and in Hong Kong. And yeah, so he kind of retired from this trade later in his life, in kind of the 1840s, and he started buying up land up in the far, kind of up in the northwest, kind of in Inverness direction, up in the northwest of Scotland, and didn't do a very good job of farming. But he did realise that he was quite good at doing like land speculation, and started basically becoming a developer and builder in and around Inverness, and kind of was kind of responsible for expanding bits of Inverness, and kind of weird enough, remember how messed up the UK is, was counted as a commoner by Parliament until the repeal of the Corn Laws, at which point he was able to be elected as an MP for what was at the time Inverness boroughs. So became an MP. That was in 18 sugar lumps, the late 1840s that he became an MP. He did obviously he was living in London at that point, so he could get to Parliament, and he was a Liberal MP in the true sense of like the Liberal Party of the day. So he continued expanding his ownings. He purchased also like he did his own self booster by also kind of purchasing a feudal barony, the feudal barony of Lochalsh, which had kind of been dormant for the best part of over 400 years. No one holding the particular barony, but he could buy it because, again, Britain makes no sense as a country. So he bought this estate, which was huge and included among other things Isle Castle, which is good fun. Which is near Kyle of Lochalsh, by the way. They've made it all snazzy. It's where James Bond. It's where MI6 have their base, etc., etc. Completely ruined, by the way. It was destroyed by the Royal Navy, and the version of the castle you see now is built by the Victorians, so it's not as fancy as it looks, even though it's an iconic bit of castle. Should have put the castle up, shouldn't I? Shall I also make my face appear, by the way? Would you like to see my little face in the corner? There we are. 250 of these. This guy's he's got good sideburns, but he's got an even larger forehead than I do, and no mustache, so extremely disappointing on that front. Matheson, you're letting the side down, my dude. So he started building. Yeah, he was building lots of buildings in Inverness, and by the 1860s, he started involving himself in a little thing called railways. Lots and lots of things, lots of exciting ideas about railways were starting to pop up in this end of the country by the late 1850s and early 1860s, and Matheson became a big proponent of expanding a railway from the now built, or what had been built, railway from Inverness through Dingwall northwards towards Sutherland, the Highland Railway. That was to be then a branch created at Dingwall and a new railway driven across to link into Skye and the Hebrides, and this as with everything, these things, it required an act, and so Jardine Matheson Company. Yes, actually, he was made a partner in that firm. Yes, Jardine Matheson, which is Jardine Matheson Holdings Limited, still is a Hong Kong-based, Bermuda-domiciled British multinational conglomerate. It's always good when a thing doesn't say what it actually does. It's just a generic trading conglomerate. It has Jardine Motors, Hong Kong Land, Jardine Strategic Holdings, DFI Retail Group, Mandarin Oriental Hotel Group, Jardine Cycle and Carriage, and Astra International. Fascinating. Interestingly, Jardine Cycle and Carriage still has a thistle next to its name. This is just like a deep. Yeah, strangely enough, this company does still have a thistle next to its name. Just weird holding company type situation. It's one of the original Hong Kong trading houses, or Hongs, that date back to Imperial China. Right, crikey. Still controlled by the Keswick family, who are descendants of co-founder William Jardine's older sister, Jean Johnston. Just weird. The world is a strange place, isn't it? So there we go. There's this weird link to like weird capitalism. Aren't drugs fun, everyone? If you're rich and can trade them, just very strange. Anyway, we digress. So this railway was put before Parliament, and it was authorised on the 5th of July, 1865. That's right, Parliament authorised it. However, shenanigans ensued. Shenanigans including the local landowner Sir William Mackenzie of Cool House, not a fan of Matheson, being angry about the railway passing through his land, and said, no, I don't want you coming anywhere near me, which then, of course, meant, as we'll show on the map momentarily, that the railway avoided the obvious place it should have gone through, which is Strathpeffer. We'll get there. Anyway, eventually, well, in fact, not eventually, all these delays came along. Meanwhile, Matheson, rich guy, builds this thing, Duncraig Castle. Builds it in 1866, so a year after the act for the railway had been deposited, getting the railway to Kyle of Lochalsh. So this stunning pile in an incredible location, very, very, very beautiful spot, quite a fancy looking house, and here we go. Oh, wait a minute, if I read correctly, his becoming MP was unrelated to the repeal of the Corn Laws. They just both happened at the same time. No, I think it was. I think it was the repeal of the Corn Laws that allowed him to be made MP. I believe that is the situation. There is an abandoned station in Strathpeffer. Yes, Michael C is shooting my fox. Yeah, there is. We'll get there momentarily. So before we work out what this railway is up to, let's have a look at some of the terrain we're talking about here. Let's just go right out here and talk. Let's go. We're way up here. So Scotland. Here we are. And particularly the place we want to look at is Inverness. Now, Inverness, funny old little place. Inverness has a little terminal station here with the kind of the railway. There's the depot here, and the freight trains can run around to skip the fun and continue on and ignoring the station. But the passenger station here, kind of not bad location, a little out of Inverness, but actually it's a pretty good location. The station itself is a bit tatty and could do with some TLC. There's a plan for that. But coming out of the station to the north was the Highland Railway. Well, a few different things actually. There are a few things going on. There's the Inverness and Rossshire Railway, which went up to Invergordon. That was built, and these were all happening actually around about the same time. So this big explosion in railways were all happening about the same time, about through the late 50s into the early 1860s. Anyway, you can see the railway coming out of Inverness there, marvellous, and then coming up here, and then reaching Dingwall. Here's lovely Dingwall. There's the junction. There we are. Junction going out the floodplain. Now, this is the route the railway took, and you'll see a couple of things. Firstly, there it is, whizzing along. You'll notice, wait, what? Why is it gone here? You'll see there's a natural line that the road takes through Strathpeffer, and then could have gone through here and weaved round and then joined up and kind of gone this way through the glen, or indeed kind of met up the other side of the glen over here. Instead, though, because of this estate thing, you'll notice the stupid kink. There it is. There's the stupid kink. You'll also notice, what's this? What's this straight-looking thing? Oh, let's follow this. What is this? Huh. What's this thing? What's this? Oh. That's right, because eventually this would be reversed by the building of a frustratingly short-lived branch into Strathpeffer, but just a branch. The actual railway, you can see, is all the way over here, and indeed the station doesn't even exist. I don't think the station's open anymore that serves Strathpeffer, so boo on that one. Anyway, you can see this ridiculous kink as it dodges around the estate and then whizzes up through this kind of narrow and steep bit of terrain. This ended up being, fun enough, extremely expensive to build the railway this route, so dodging over and going through the trickier terrain to then relink into the main glen and then make its way onto the easier terrain again and onwards. By the way, you'll see, hilly, this is tough terrain, but it is a natural link from from one side to the other, one coast to the other. So the terrain is or the surroundings are imposing, but the majority of the line at this point is quite straightforward. It's just empty is what it was. It's mostly quite cheap to build, other than the bit that dodged the estate. Now, this is pertinent, but also you can follow this railway line it's less. This bit is extremely bleak and barren. This is like a lot of Scotland, like when it's been completely stripped bare of any. This was all forested until it wasn't anymore. In fairly recent number of years, actually stripped back and sheep released. This will become pertinent to our story. In fact, the railway then. Kind of then gets into slightly greener and more verdant terrain as we reach the other coast, which is nice. You're kind of reaching Loch Carron, and then there's a tricky bit again along here that is pertinent. Let me just whiz back. Actually, just check where I am. Yeah, lovely. You can see there's a tricky bit here that was expensive as the railway hugged the cliffs by the fjord, by the sea loch. And so the element, as you can see, like some cheap bits, some expensive bits. Now, let's go out here. So we need to talk. Firstly, also, let's just get up the OS map so you can have a quick look at the geography of this lot. Let's go here and do this. So, just to give you a feel for the geography, for those who perhaps want to see it in Ordnance Survey form. There you go. There's Dingwall up here, and you can see the railway doing its stupid thing. You can see the dismantled railway there. Yes, the old the station was kind of here where the level crossing was that I showed on screen. So anyway, you go along. There's Garve, by the way, which is where our link to Ullapool would be from an episode or two ago. The thing that it ends up going through, it goes through cut through a place called Raven Rock, and this is extremely expensive when the preferred route would have been to kind of go through Strathpeffer and either cut up through Strathconnan or go arguably the easier route around the bottom via Contin. Again, would have been useful to go via Contin because it's another population centre. So it's very silly that the railway took the route via Raven Rock, avoiding all the population centres. Rich people are a problem for railways. So Garve, and then you go, there's Loch Lochalsh along here, and then you weave along, and then you've got these grand, open, abandoned areas. Achnasheen is good for doing hill walking, but not much else. And then you sort of start reaching, you go through here, Achnashellach, again, good for walking. And then go through Strathcarron, that's at the head of Loch Carron. You've got all the fun down here, and then you reach a place called Stroomfree. Stroomfree is here, and if we go into our Google Maps, Stroomfree is this bit here. Is Stroomfree. And you can see there's some stuff. There's telltale signs of like abandoned industrial space. Now, take note of that, because on the 19th of August 1870, the railway was opened to. Oh, wait a minute, I should tell you. So there's Stroomfree, and the railway, of course, was intended, and the route continues along here, finds its way past along here, past. No, that's not it. Past. No, that's not it. I've missed it. There's Plockton. There is the castle. It is. I think maybe that was it. It just looks smaller from that angle. No, I don't think that is. No, I will find it. Where is it? Because I've walked to it, so it can't be that far. It is. No. Well, I'm just going to miss it. I'm just not going to find it. Where is it? Anyway, that's just Kyle of Lochalsh. Where's Plockton? Plockton's up here, which means that you can then walk. Maybe that is. Anyway, the castle is up here somewhere. If I was a clever boy, I'd be able to find it instantly and tell you where it is. Let's just do it this way and find out. There's that. There's Kyle of Lochalsh. There is Plockton. Oh yeah, it's further. Of course it is. Yeah, it's along that. It's right. I'm an idiot. Let me go to here and then whiz along because yes, there's. Let me zoom right out. There's Plockton. And there's the castle. Thank you, everyone. I'm an idiot. Yes, there's the castle. Plockton along here. And, the railway would then arrive down in Kyle of Lochalsh, down here, and service the ferry and the port at Kyle of Lochalsh. It was a fairly important port, serviced various places out in all directions. The yeah, the ferry was, the shipping went out into the Hebrides from here, to Skye, the Outer Hebrides, as well as all the industrial shipping and kind of inland shipping and fishing and all sorts of things. The railway was very valuable to serve. However, in 1870, the railway reached Stroomferry because the money spent burning going the railway around Raven Rock meant they didn't have enough money to actually get it where it needed to go. They ran out of money and ended up having to curtail the route to Stroomferry. So in 1870, it opened to Stroomferry, operated by these snazzy looking trains. Look at these things; they're very nice, aren't they? Yeah, because trains kind of look like locomotives kind of look like locomotives by this point. Anyway, here's Stroomferry. You can see that the railway touch around all that stuff we were looking at in overheads looks like this. So there you go. So it's also some very interesting looking P-way here as well. This photo is from about when it opened, actually. So it's some quite nice contemporary images. This looks a little bit later because of the. Well, actually, that's probably not that much later. Anyway, very nice. So. All good, you might think. That's all wonderful and great. Oh, it's worth saying, for scale, the railway cost in 1870 cost £238,500 to construct, which in today's money is about 30 million quid. And to give you an idea of scale in today's money, that's about £500,000 per mile. So that's quite. That's not bad in comparatively, is it? But there we go. Anyway, I digress. So fairly soon after this, we need to talk a little bit more about the Highland Railway, because at the same time as our little railway, around about the same time our railways had opened, 1870. By this point, lots of other bits of railway had started appearing in and around Inverness, providing links up from Aberdeen via my old stomping ground of Inverurie. And actually, there's a joint. So there's the Great North of Scotland Railway went from Aberdeen up to Keith, and then connected from Keith to other places. There were junctions and links, but there was a joint railway built called the Inverness and Aberdeen Junction Railway that connected from Inverness across through Forres, Elgin, and met the Great North of Scotland Railway at Keith. For people who want to understand the map, let me zoom right out and go back over here. I've been realised I should have had the cursor on, shouldn't I? So I should show you what's going on. But so there's Aberdeen, this thing that's in the middle of your screens right now. And then if we go over the top, that's both the Great North of Scotland Railway, which had its railway works in Inverurie. Here it is, where everybody speaks like us. And then went over to Inverness, where everybody speaks like this, ever so tidy, clipped language that we speak in Inverness. So yeah, the posh people who live in Inverness, they all speak very fancy. Up there, they speak less fancy in Dingwall, but still pretty fancy. So the railway was being built from so you have the Inverness and Aberdeen Junction Railway, you had the Inverness and Ross-shire Railway, which was going up this way, so kind of, if you like, continuing that railway up the hill, up towards eventually towards up to Thurso and Wick, and then the other bit of railway that is perhaps better known as the Highland Main Line now is the Inverness and Perth Junction Railway, which was built from Inverness down through, right the way through the sort of the between the Monolea and the Cairngorms, linking up with the Spey, Glen Spey, if you like, or Speyside, cutting back through and linking up with the various railways over on the east of Scotland. But linked up at Stanley Junction at the other end. So, and then connecting up to all the East Coast stuff. So it provided a link up through. So the Great North of Scotland Railway had was kind of coming up from Aberdeen at the other end, but down here it was linking up to what would become the North British Railway down at the other end. He says, being confident that that's definitely the case rather than me misremembering. No, I think it is. Yeah. Perth and Dunkeld. Let me just remind myself. Perth and Dunkeld Railway, which was, is it? Or is it the Cally? let's see. North British. Yeah. North British. Yeah. Okay. I think so, yeah. Anyway, people can correct me on that one. I can't remember. But anyway, there's a load of railways. There's both the Caledonian and the North British had their lines along here, and I actually can't remember which was ripped up and which was retained. I think the North British was the one retained and the Calais was the one ripped up. But in any case, actually, the Calais at Stanley Junction is the one that was ripped up, perhaps. I can't quite remember. The nerds will help. So, the current Highland Main Line isn't the original alignment, is it? No. So, you're right. So the route of the original Highland Main Line was that it came up to it didn't skip through the monolith. Actually, it kind of went around the top. So what it actually did was it's what's now the Speyside Railway was the route, and it had a junction at Craig of Lochalsh, which is up here. Let me just this Boat of Garton. There is Granton on Spey. Beyond Granton on Spey is Craig of Lochalsh up here, the junction. But yeah, here's Craig of Lochalsh. Several very nice bridges where there was a junction that basically wait a minute, I'm misremembering. No, I'm misremembering. Yes, sorry. The junction was the other side. It was from Boat of Garton, and the railway whizzed over from Granton, went up. Over this way, I think, and then it kind of went round. Let me just get this right. God, basically the route whizzed round this. You know what? Let's get rail map online up. Rail map, particularly as you can't see my cursor, which isn't usually helpful, is it? So let's go in here and actually get the thing up, because you're right. Here we go. So Aviemore to Boat of Garton is currently the Speyside Railway. It's marvellous, and at some point in the future they will extend beyond their little sort of Nethy Bridge sort of station situation. They'll extend beyond that and get it to Granton on Spey. I forget the Nethy Bridge thing was the junction and it whizzed out, because there's the weird Clattery Bridge that it did, and anyway. So yes, the railway went through Granton and then whizzed north, and I was right actually. It goes via Dava across Davamore. And joins up to the railway at Forres, and that's kind of why you have what was the weird railway shape in Forres until it was corrected more recently. So that means you come up and join the railway at Forres. You can see my line is now out of date because they've straightened the kink at Forres. But it used to be that the railway would whiz through, and it whizzed over this way, and you can see the line of the railway going wee. There it is in the middle of the screen right now, even though I'm using my cursor and you can't see it. But you can all see where that railway is. Anyone familiar with what railways look like when they do a thing? There's, look at that. It's a track. It'd be a lovely cycleway, that. In fact, it'd be an absolutely spiffing cycleway if they could make that work. Anyway, I digress. There it is, whizzing along. And eventually it arrives. It goes over Davamore, and eventually, you can very, very clearly see it cutting through, actually. Again, what a cycleway that would be. Whoa, cracking. It'd be absolutely cracking. Down over here and arrives down into Granton on Spey. There it is, lovely big Granton, big market town Granton on Spey. Here's where it is eventually going to provide. Gaich is the realignment of the A95 might happen in the next 50 years, and then eventually the Heritage Rail will be able to arrive in Granton on Spey. At the moment, it doesn't. At the moment, I think they've got it. They have relayed this bridge. They've got it to this bridge and they don't go any further. The Speyside Railway, my favourite heritage railway in the UK. It's stunningly beautiful, unbeatable views, just absolutely spectacular. Anyway, so that was the bit of it, and you're right, eventually that got bypassed in later years by the Calais. But for now, that was the route over Davamore and then connecting around Inverness, which, with this bit here added in later, this kink and climbing up the dramatic slopes to a direct line, bypassing it, built later. So kind of hence why the railway kind of, hence some of the things about the railway line that it has now. Anyway, I digress. We have to talk about another guy because finally things started happening. What things started happening? Well, we have to talk about this guy first, because this guy, you got a pop. Colonel Sir Francis Arthur Marrandin. Why do we have to talk about Francis Marrandin? Because this is the guy on the Board of Trade who, in October 1897, finally signed off on allowing the railway to be, or finally signed off on the extension of the railway. So a full, 30 years almost have passed, and the railway has finally reached Kyle of Lochalsh. But I want to talk about Marindin first. Here he is, looking fly as hell with his little shirt. Why do I want to talk about Marindin? Because he's an interesting kind of guy. This is a guy who served with the Royal Engineers, but weirdly was a key figure in the early development of association football. So that's why he's looking all football-y, because there's a football here. The football there. It's Arthur Marindin, football guy, but also railway. Joined the. He was a member of the board of the Board of Trade Railway Inspectorate, he continued that until he died 3 years after the. He died at age 61, 3 years after opening the railway. R.I.P. What's going on? I've done bits. It's a very welcome gradient given Cairngorms. Yes, agreed, Kerr. It's a nice bit of railway. That's old X route. It's lovely. So this guy became the president of the FA in 1874 and served in that capacity until 1890. He was a referee. He took charge of the 1880 FA Cup final. So this is a proper footy guy, unlike me. But he became an inspecting officer for the Board of Trade in 1875. He was a senior inspector of railways by 1895. So 2 years later, as senior inspector of railways, his responsibility in that role was basically to inspect new works on passenger railways to ensure they were safe before they could be used, and also reporting on railway accidents. Indeed, the accident at Thirsk is probably the most famous example. The major accident in Thirsk that resulted in 10 people dying and 2 trains walloping into each other. Bad things happened. Maybe another episode. In any case, he was a plain-speaking chap, and this was coupled with a complete mastery of his subject, making the point that the railway companies at the time knew that his office was not likely to allow irregularities to remain long unnoticed. So he was very good at his job. Also loved football. So you can have hobbies and also be very good at engineering as well. So isn't that marvellous? There we go. So anyway, I wanted to talk about Colonel Sir Francis Arthur Marindin because he seems like an interesting chap. He also, weirdly enough, got stuck into developing London's new electrical lighting system in his final years. So a tinkerer. Man after my own heart. Don't look too much into his background. Although it's saying that second son of Reverend Samuel Marindin of Chesterton, he was educated at Eton and the Royal Military Academy, so he presumably has some money in his family. Anyway, yes, 29th of October 1897, only not that far off his death, actually, a couple of years. Here he is, looking a bit more distinguished with his silvery hair and his, again, excellent moustache, looking fly, but with a different vibe. And this is pretty much what he looked like a few years before opening the railway. So here he is, opened the railway, which is good. Which means, though, that our railway finally reached Kyle of Lochalsh. Here it is, Kyle of Lochalsh, and some photos of it kind of around about that time. Reasonably contemporary from when it opened, in fact, kind of turn of the century. Because you can see, because there's all these little 4 and 6 wagon coaches and stuff. I'm sure the chuffernutters will know exactly what the carriages are. A very fetching looking steam locomotive at the head of this one, which is nice. You can see it's quite a industrious little harbour. You can see a view across in the other direction here, showing the sort of the type of architecture that was at Kyle of Lochalsh at the time. A mixture of stone and just timbery stuff that looks like it would blow away in the slightest sneeze, and then all the shipping. Busy little harbour, marvellous. So a lovely little bit of success there, and that finally the railway made its way through, reaching Kyle of Lochalsh. The trouble is, the railway, it's a long way, it's a long journey. The railway was not built to be fast. Even for the day, it was not the fastest line. And it never really ended up gaining much traffic. Actually, I have one other thing to say, which is quite funny, which is, so the last bit was 500,000 per mile to build. The 10.5 miles to get from Stroomfree to Kyle of Lochalsh, was about the same as the entire rest of the railway. So pretty much the same, £200,000, £200,500 in 1897. So, okay, a little bit less, actually. because that's a slightly late, slightly more recent. So in terms of today's money, about the same as the other half. So half and half, about the same, about 30 million quid. And per mile, however, nearly 3 million per mile, so 6 times more expensive than the rest of the railway. So about the same to build this short bit as it was to build so much more. And the reason it's this expensive is because the geography to build this bit of railway was pretty extreme. Let's just Plockton Railway. Let's just Google Plockton Railway and do Google image search. Kyle of Lochalsh Railway. There we go. Am I going to see pictures of it? And you know what? The Google was useless, so we're going to forget Google, and I'm just going to go back to Google Earth and explain why this railway was so expensive. Well, the reason this bit of railway was so expensive is because it had to do... So from Stroomfree, it had to... Here's Stroomfree. It had to cut around the side of the coast here, which was not cheap. It then had to whiz along the side of the coast here, which was not too cheap. It had extremely deep rock cuttings. It had embankments. It had bridges to allow the water to flow through. It had all these causeways. And as you get close to, there's Plockton, as you whiz through Plockton, fairly harmless, and all of a sudden you're getting these high embankments and these deep rock cuttings, these very famous deep rock cuttings coming through. And as you get closer and closer, the railway, the geography the railway is cutting through is getting more and more spectacular until you reach this point. By the way, absolutely stunningly beautiful bit of railway here. The railway is cutting, slicing between rocks, left, right, and centre, and the last view here, I think, is probably one of the more spectacular. It goes around this curve. It's on this long causeway and then cuts through very steep rock cutting. And eventually, as you see, it's just all heavy rock cuttings, eventually arriving in Kyle of Lochalsh. It's just a huge amount of cuttings to get through to reach Kyle of Lochalsh. And we can show you this in a more entertaining way by me going to the OS map and showing. If I zoom in to get the 1 to 25 up, you'll see like cuttings. Actually, no, it doesn't do it justice. What would do it justice is me getting up my own tweet where I think I showed. Yeah, here we go. Well, I showed some pictures of what this looks like. Here are some pictures of what the railway looks like. There's some rock cuttings and some embankments. This Kyle of Lochalsh station is now. There's one of the rock cuttings. That gives you an idea of the... this is old Twitter. This is from 2018. The resolution of these images is not as good as I would like them to be. Yeah, you can see they're just sliced through the coast here to get the curvature without turning the railway into a curvy mess. And there's another. I think that picture shows it rather nicely. So that's why it was expensive, Michael C. It's because the geography was unforgiving and the terrain and the railway cut through the terrain like mad. So slicing through the rock was cheaper than a tunnel. The rock probably not quite deep enough for a tunnel, and the rock too kind of broken up. You're just too shallow for a tunnel, so you just have to blast it as a rock cutting. Everyone's loving the live chat. They're having long discussions about electoral reform in the chat. I love this. Looks easy to electrify. Yeah. Well. So, yeah, no tunnels, that's it. So, this meant, by the way, so the 1897, by this point, the I didn't kind of tell you what was going on with the let's get rid of Rail Map Online, you don't need that. I'm surrounded by deeply surrounded by tabs. I didn't really tell you much about the Highland Railway. So those bits of Highland Railway that we talked about. So the connection, you can see that the later link made here, by the way, the shortcut. This is about what the railway was looking like by 1897. So you had your connection to I was wrong, it is to the Caledonian Railway, not the North British. The connection to the Caledonian, oh no, I did say that, didn't I? Anyway, connection to the Caledonian Railway from Stanley Junction down to Perth. The little branch to Aberfeldy had existed by this point. What is now the Highland Main Line, but then the route that it took from Boat of Garton up to Dava and up that way, and then the link to Keith, getting you down to Aberdeen in that direction. So the Highland the Highland Railway had been formed of those three railways. The railway going up in this direction to Invergordon, the railway going to where? Yeah, I was going to say, if I just clear this, the first bit was going here, so it went from Dingwall. It went from Dingwall a little bit further to Invergordon, and the rest was built kind of later on. So 1897, this had existed, but the Highland Railway was formed of this bit, not the Fortrose connection, not this bit, but this bit here, down to here, and then this bit over to Keith as well. All the branches came later, but the kind of the core of the Highland Railway was formed of these three railways, and so they merged into what became called the Highland Railway, and the kind of the so then the kind of the far north line then was pushed on. About the same time the Kyle of Lochalsh line was, so the railway started opening earlier than that. So 1868, it started pushing up further north towards Thurso and Wick, and these all kind of merged together in 1880. So the kind of expansions up towards Sutherland were absorbed a little bit later, 1884. But 1880 is when our bit of railway we've been talking about, or rather, should I say, the bit to Stroomfree, because the rest of it still hadn't been built at that point. That bit was absorbed by the Highland Railway, and okay, there's some shenanigans and expansion and all fine and good. I think the most spectacular thing that happened was the construction of the direct route. This bit with some very wonderful structures, including the wonderful Culloden Moor Viaduct, which is well worth a look if you're not familiar with that structure. That was built in 1887, I believe. No, that's not right. It opened the year after the line was extended to Kyle of Lochalsh. So sorry, 1898 is when that was all finally finished. So 1898. So the end of 1898 was when you had the completion of the direct line. It was 30 miles shorter than the route via Forest. So it cut a decent whack off the route. Certainly enough for the time. It took an hour off the journey, which is definitely justifiable for local folks. So, anyway, there's some other shenanigans happened with the Highland Railway down here, which we won't worry too much about, because the hope there's some serious hope. That's another story, I think, is what happened to the Invergarrion Fort Augustus Railway, because it's a classic example of how private enterprise ruined otherwise good railway ideas and got in the way of everything. So, oh dear. Was the Highland Railway ever profitable? Yes, it was profitable. It was pretty damn profitable. It was a pretty successful little independent railway. It was, yeah, it did pretty well for itself. Yeah, it was. Yeah, there were bits of light railway built here and there, though it found itself being particularly important during the First World War. In fact, very, very busy. Not least the connections up to Scapa Flow, up to Scrabster Harbour. So that was, that generated a lot of traffic. But there was a reasonable amount of industrial traffic on the various bits of railway. Yeah, it's just I think the challenge, however, on our little railway was different though. In our bit, if we go back here, make sure I'm showing the right thing. Let's clear all this. Our bit, our little bit, our railway to Kyle of Lochalsh, let's call it the Kyle of Lochalsh line now, was, firstly, it was the most expensive railway when it was built. The Kyle of Lochalsh, the 10.5 miles to Kyle of Lochalsh, it was at the time the most expensive railway ever built in Britain per mile, and the government provided quite a bit of money for it. The slow demise of laissez-faire. Our railway, though, just didn't get much traffic. The ferry connections were a bit hopeless. And the West Highland Railway, when it opened to, opened to Oban, but also opened to, opened to Fort William, which is here. Yeah, Fort William here. And then the line to Malig, which, wait, am I getting that right? Yeah, the line to then Malig, which whizzed off and ended up, where is it? It's just like here, is it? Yeah, Malig's like here, isn't it? Am I getting that wrong or right? Something like that, and it does that and that. In fact, we don't need to faff. We can just get the OS up and tell you exactly where it is. Oh no, I was one down. I was wrong. It's further down. It's this one. In any case, yeah, the line to Malling eventually opened and started stealing all the traffic because it was quicker to Glasgow and therefore quicker to the rest of the UK. So the West Highland line started stealing a lot of the traffic in the early 1900s, which wasn't so great for our little railway. There were some fun ideas they had for a while about moving boats from Inverness across to Kyle of Lochalsh, allowing ships to avoid working their way through most of the Pentland Firth, which is a tidal nightmare. They never came to fruition, so it never really happened. So, what of our bit of railway? What of its future? What's going on? Well, actually, I've skipped ahead a little bit because slightly after our railway opened, so our railway opened on the 29th of October. Well, a few days later, a little different station opened to serve the guy who, by the way, he's long dead. Alexander Matheson, the guy who was the driving force in getting the line built, dead at this point. But finally, in 1897, at the end of 1897, his ghost got its halt to serve his castle, to serve his fancy mansion. And here was the little halt here. This photo looking distinctly British Rail era, early, like British Railways era, actually, I should say. Also worth saying that the Kyle of Lochalsh line still has some of the oldest P-way in existence in the country. It's lightly used and somehow has survived despite being next to the sea. It seems to have survived pretty well. There's some rails dating back that are on the section between Stroom Ferry and Kyle of Lochalsh. There were, I'm not 100% sure there are anymore, but there were some original rails still in use to now-ish. Some original rails still in use that had been laid when the line was built. So that's kind of fun. Anyway, people are wondering what this check rail is doing here. Sharp curve, possibly. Looking at it, I would suggest possibly it's a continuous check rail. As you come into tight curve, there seems to be another one in the other direction. So yeah, I would suggest it's just a continuous check for going around the other direction on the curve. Anyway, there's Duncraig railway station. It's kind of just a halt, but it has this lovely building here. They've built this little sort of unique, by the way, little halt. Yeah, originally served. It's essentially a private halt, but it was a private station built here. But it kind of by 1949, in 1949 actually, after the Second World War, and indeed after nationalisation. Wait a minute, this is the bit where I wish I'd got my ruddy. Let's go for it. This is the bit where I wish I had been clever and got the. Oh, dear me. Let's get that and this. And you're looking at a very organised publication here. So there we go. There we go. Marvellous. So this was built, but it was built to be private. And I'm waiting for my come on. Yes, it's here. Yes, it's my drop deck that I keep forgetting to boost up, and it takes like half an hour to bloody load, and I don't know why. It's very sad. Anyway, where are we? Yes, good. Anyway, what happens in 1948? Well, of course, British Railways, we have nationalisation, marvellous. Here it is. And it means that our station becomes a public station, a publicly accessible railway station, 1949. And it's admittedly not hugely popular, but it's there. It's a lovely little railway station, popular with little walkers, and also popular with the drivers who come through, because it's a fun little halt. They get to look out to see if people are requesting them to stop. Marvellous. I should have also had so there's that, but I also do I have I don't have. There it is. Yeah. Actually, as we all know, it's not. Oh, stop! Good grief, that's a long drop. We don't have. It's not his fault. Westminster arrives. That's right. It's central government and the British Railways Board deems upon itself to suggest that the railway station shouldn't still be open. Doesn't need to be open. It's got too little footfall, and they're going to close that station with its charming little octagonal waiting room. They're getting rid of it. And indeed, on the 7th of December 1964, The station, which by the way doesn't look like this is not what it looked like in 1964, although it could have nearly, no, not quite. Anyway, this is that lovely little octagonal waiting sort of building, a little sort of waiting room. It closes, except it doesn't. It does not close. No, it doesn't close. Why doesn't it close? Well, because what? Yeah, the reason it doesn't close is because local drivers refused to acknowledge the station's closure for 11 years. My favourite quote from this period, by the way, you Alamy, I like this picture, and I don't care if there's a load of A's all over it. Yeah, it's fine. There's a lovely little quote here. We thought that if the English wanted to close a railway station, they should pick on Euston or King's Cross. There we go. It's a local driver. That's right. We thought that if the English wanted to close a railway station, they should pick on Euston or King's Cross. So the local all the local drivers just stopped at the halt every time anyway. They just didn't let it close. And if the station, if the local, it didn't have any staff maintaining it, the only people making the station be a thing were the drivers going through. And so the station finally was officially reopened on the 5th of January 1976. The drivers had won. The station remained open. And so we have it with the benefit of it today. They've you can see it's painted in ScotRail colours, looking very tidy. You can see the curvature justifying the continuous check, and also you can see that the rails in this picture. Let's just a little close look. I think the rails in this picture are the same as the rails in this picture. So I would suggest that those in this picture here, these are the original rails from when the railway was actually, and sleepers from when although there might have been some spot re-sleepering, although the timbers all look pretty good. This is the original track from when it was laid. Look at this, isn't it marvellous? So I think this is a. Why do I love this? Why do I think this is marvellous? Because I think it is an absolutely fab story that tells me lots of things that I like, which is that the powers that be damned. If you subvert, if you stick to your guns, and if you care and are passionate, then you can subvert the powerful and indeed get your way and thrive and succeed. And look at this lovely railway station that is still here to this day, serviced by reasonably regular trains, relatively speaking. They get the train every 2 hours. Oh no, it's not even that. It's 4 trains each way call on weekdays and Saturdays, and on Sundays there's only 1 train each way. So I wouldn't say it's frequently served. But yeah, the fact the track has lasted that long is testament to how good track can be, because it's pretty basic stuff and it's still there and running wonderfully. Yeah, but interestingly enough, it changed name. It was called Duncraig Castle, I believe, originally, and then it actually was that picture. This one probably has the original name on it. It's just Duncraig on there. Anyway, it was renamed in 1962. That's a little tidbit for you that isn't particularly relevant. Yeah, it was also grouped. So yeah, grouping in 1923 had claimed it, and the station was still a private halt. But it's not really relevant to our story. In any case, still running today. Gets about 500 people using it a day, and for that I don't like to say my favourite station is, because I don't really have a favourite station, but this is high on my list. Karura is also up there. Big fan of Karura Station, but it's got to be high on my list as a charming little railway station, wonderfully able to be served. Max Johansson is saying, yeah, that might be in the top 10 most frequent Amtrak lines. Lol. Yeah, North American standards, that's practically the Victoria line. Yeah, quite. It's quite something, isn't it? It's marvellous. And everyone should visit it, and maybe someday we'll do a Rail Natter trip to this station, and we'll have a fun time, and we'll do it as an episode. Wouldn't that be marvellous? Anyway, I don't know, I just thought it's a nice little tale to tell on our 250th episode. A little tale of the little station that could. Despite all the odds, surviving and indeed thriving. It's nice to see that the ridership is pretty much back up to pre-COVID levels as well. So whoever does use the station, which is either walkers or a 10-year-old me having climbed my way there along the coast from Plockton, don't ask how I got to the station platform, but you can safely do that, I'm sure. Oh, there's a bridge here. It's legit. It's all legit. Anyway, there is a lovely little station. Oh yeah, the one instance of actual train spotting and train spotting, says Max Johansson, is Curragh Station. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, Duncraig Station. I'm very glad it still exists. It holds a little soft spot for that story, and the fact that the rebellious British Rail. I wanted to find a picture of some British Rail trains, of what the trains looked like in this period, but you can all do some googling, and I'm sure you can do some imagining. But we're talking like lovely sort of actually it wasn't DMUs, it was like class 31s with a bunch of Mark 1s with drivers in there going back and forth from Kyle of Lochalsh. Latter years 37s, but during this period it's probably 31s, maybe 25s hauling things. No, not 25. Wouldn't have been class 25. Class 25. No, class 25, not 253. That's definitely not something that was running there. Maybe 25s, but 31s, I think. The nerds who are in the chat can get involved. Yeah, absolutely based Scottish drivers. Marvellous. Anyway, a story I like. Anyway, hello everyone in the chat, by the way. I'm glad you're in here. Do I have to explain? No, I don't have to explain. It's just lovely. The local branch line train is a dying art form. Absolutely. That platform doesn't look long enough to have more than one coach. Yeah, it's very short. I think you probably just get off wherever the guard is on the train. Anyway, episode 250. There's some fun. Yeah, stay tuned for the fun book news. So let's get rid of my face and say, audio only people, this episode will be the first episode in a month that will be scheduled to land mostly on time. I'm so sorry for the delay, but audio only people, you'll all be getting a little bonus extra bit that these lovely folk watching this YouTube video won't have got. As a little treat from me being so late, I'm going to add in a little tidbit, so you can stay tuned for that little tidbit. Enjoy that, and apologies. The usual plugs, patreon.com/GarethDennis for the support that you've given me, and thank you so much. I'm going to say it again just in case you missed it last week, but yes, I am now salaried, although the paycheck hasn't landed yet, partly because I need to update my details in the internal weird system that is in there. Anyway, but yes, I'm salaried, so if you are providing extra support to me, it's extremely kind of you that you did that, but I'm not going to get personally upset and go and panic if the number drops down now. If it's difficult out there. Drop your support down to what you feel more comfortable with. If you've added that little bit extra while I've been in a difficult situation, thank you so much to those of you who've done that. But I was very explicit that I would give you that. I would ring the little bell. What little bell have I got? Do I have a little bell? I've got a little ping. I've got what else do I have? I have I've got me telling a funny funny joke. That's all, and no, that's and I've got, what else do I have? Oh, you know what? Yeah, I got a job. Yeah, that sort of thing. This is why I shouldn't have a sound deck. Anyway. The Discord server where the chat continues ad infinitum, GarethDennis.co.uk/Discord, paypal.me/GarethDennis for loose change and abuse, and GarethDennis.co.uk/merch for the merchandise. I was going to be drinking out of a Rail Natter mug, but I didn't have time to make a cup of tea, so I'm just drinking some squash out of a pint glass. No, little pint glass. Let's see, it's with a dribble of squash in the bottom. Very nice. Anyway, of course, the W2IP continues, and there is a train episode, the last mainline episode indeed, that I will be a co-host of, has landed recently, and it is about the smokers train, and it is an appalling story of misery, but it's also quite fun. Me and Jay Bisquickelhausen and the gang, episode 175, the Marlborough Unlimited. It's a fun episode. Go enjoy that if that's such things that you enjoy. So, what else? Yes. Book news. We're going on tour. I closed the thing, but we are indeed going on tour. Yes. I'm very excited about this. Me and the book are going on tour, and you're encouraged to join. The precise details, such as dates, are TBC, but what I can do is tell you where the tour is going to be. This is the exciting announcement, which I've been looking forward to, because the tour is going to be in alphabetical order: Birmingham, Bristol, Cambridge, Cardiff, Derby, Edinburgh, Liverpool, London, Manchester, and York. These are the 10 locations we will be touring to, me and me book. These events will kind of look like, they'll be like a there'll be someone, there'll be a non-me person at the venue, kind of comparing a bit, allowing me to have a nice conversation about the book. So the thing will be about an hour and a half. There'll be about 45 minutes of chat, and then there'll be about 45 minutes of just open discussion with the audience. And oh, by the way, for those who are disappointed and not go to your local location or railway location, I had a list of about 80 places I wanted to go, and that was obviously ridiculous. So what I've done is list off the places that allow me to tick off the majority of the population. Like these make sure most of the country has been well accessed. Note that I wanted to do more in Scotland and Wales, but population and time. So I want to go up to Aberdeen at some point as well, and maybe we'll. Yes, all of these will have pub afterwards as well, of course. But these, it's not a rail natter tour; it's a book tour, so it's not so much a rail natter. The tone will be a bit different. Well, not a bit different. It will be a bit like that, but we'll be talking about the book. There'll be a guest. The guest should be fun, and in the case of the one guest I have already booked, the guest is far cooler than I am. I won't announce that quite yet, but very much someone I've been actually collaborating with on podcasts of late, but someone I've not actually been on a podcast with yet and have wanted to be for a very long time, and I'm very excited that they and I will be collaborating in one of these places, one of these locations. I'm super excited about that. Yes, 10 locations. The tour will be kind of spread through the kind of the middle half of the year. So kind of starting in sort of later in kind of late spring probably, and then running over summer into the early part of autumn, I would imagine. Yes, so I'm excited about this. Very, very excited, in fact. Oh, it's going to be good fun. What else, though? Of course, we have to talk about next week's episode, because it's episode 251, The Future of Cities. The Future of Cities. Yeah, it's another report page turn. It's actually a Network Rail report. Well, it's not. It's a report commissioned for Network Rail, but Andrew Haynes gives the foreword, and it says a lot of interesting things about cities and about the aftermath of COVID for cities, and talks a little bit about how that ties into devolution and the view of, Andrew Haynes' view of how GPR will respond to that as well, which I think is very interesting. So I think, for Katie, Sheffield was absolutely on my list as well, high on the list, and didn't quite make the cut. Likewise, Leeds, I think, as well. So yeah, York ended up being the one for that. There are reasons for it. Katie Fenn, hello, good friend of the show. Yes, there are lots of places I wanted to be, and the list is like Cambridge, for example, is on there because of it. Also has to tick some "this is where book things happen" boxes as well. It's a weird 10 list, I know, but there's a logic to it anyway. So the future cities, we're going to be a page turn, but I think that should be quite interesting. Thanks for that. We've done 250 of these. Absolutely baffling. Duncraig book event when? I would love to go to Duncraig for all of us. When are we going to have Jen on the move on Rail Natter? Very good point, Networker fan 465365. I need to reach out to Jen and get her on so we can talk about the Northumberland line. I really do want to do that. Very, very. So yes, thanks for the prompt. Yes, absolutely. I am going to get those podcasts uploaded now, and I'm going to bid you farewell, but a warm thank you to all of you. Also, there's some presents for those of you from a very long time ago that I'm going to come and bring. Your presents, your prizes to you in person. That's the way I'm going to do it. So if you want to come to any of those events and you have a prize that I owe you, then let me know. And in fact, message me if you're interested in any of those venues, because we'll sort something out. I'll also email all of you, I think. Right, enough of me waffling. There's lots of people in the chat saying they want to come. It'll be fun. It'll be interesting. We'll talk about... Well, the book, as you know, is not all about trains, although it also is. So we'll talk about politics, we'll talk about philosophy, we'll talk about how we fix everything, and we'll talk about trains and railways, and we'll talk about your local area as well, and what trains can do for you. There are other events coming up too. There will be a bigger, more grand Manchester event with cool people and me. There will also be a possibly series of events at Shildon. Not at Shildon, in Darlington, sorry, not at Shildon. very decisively not at Shildon, at the new museum at Head of Steam in Darlington, which will be well worthwhile. Lots of stuff going on, which I'm very pleased about. It's going to be the year of fun. 2025, the year of fun. Anyway, right. Cheerio, everyone. Bye. Thank you, and cheerio. Oh, one last thing which I forgot and I want to tell you about. Sean of Lefty YouTube fame is currently doing a big fundraiser for Palestine. There is a link for that fundraiser which will be in the description to this, but is also is also in the general chat in the Discord. Please go and support that if you can. And it would also be fun to link up with Sean of Sean on the YouTubes. But yeah, Sean on YouTube doing a big fundraiser for Palestine. So please go and get stuck into that if you can provide support. Go do that now. Thank you and good night.